everybody, this is Mary at Quilting on the Square. We're here today to teach you how to make our Spinwheels pattern. Spinwheels is a foundation piece quilt pattern that comes with pre-printed newsprint templates for you to use. Here are just some of the ways that you could put the Spinwheels together. Here's a nice quilt. This block, this unit right here is one Spinwheels unit. You can see, you can lay it out in many, many different ways. Here's a little quilt. Over here, we have a set of placemats that we made using the pattern, doing them in a serpentine style. Up here, we have a very bright and colorful wall hanging, using colors of the rainbow, blacks and whites. In order to be able to make the Spinwheels pattern, you will need the pattern, which does include the newsprint templates. You'll need some fabrics. All the Spinwheels are made using 2.5-inch strips, and your cutting directions for those strips are in your pattern. You're also going to need a glue stick. We like the Elmer's water-soluble glue stick white. You'll need some form of a turn template. This can be a piece of cardstock. It could be one of those index cards that fall out of a magazine, or it can be just a plastic template. You'll need your rotary cutter, and you will need to have an add-a-quarter ruler. And we will have links to all the supplies you need in the description of this video. So now, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to show you how to make this pattern. Okay, here we are. We're going to get ready to actually stitch out a Spinwheels block. This is what one completed block is going to look like. So, very nice. The Spinwheels block is made using 2.5-inch strips. Everything is a 2.5-inch strips. So for the blades, you can use a jelly roll. The blades are all cut into 2.5 by 6-inch segments. The backgrounds are also 2.5-inch strips, but their measurements vary depending on which section they're going to go in. And the instructions for what to cut your background pieces are all in the pattern. With foundation paper piecing, we are going to sew on the wrong side. We're going to sew on the printed side. Our fabrics are going to be on the non-printed side. To get started, it's a little bit confusing. You might want to get yourself some refreshments before you start. I like Three Musketeers and Snickers. These are the bite-sized pieces. But to get started, you need to place your first two fabrics for section 1 and section 2. The templates are numbered with each section number. This is the order that you're going to sew in. The line numbers, these are your sewing lines. So your first sewing line is line 1, which is between section 1 and section 2. So to get started, we're going to use our fold template, and we're going to actually fold back on line 1, right here, just like that. I need to place my first blade fabric on the back of this section, making sure that it covers this entire area. I like to secure this with my water-soluble glue stick and just a little dab. You don't want to go crazy with the glue because you do have to take these papers off at the end. So I've glued that fabric there. I'm going to come back around. I'm going to fold again on this line 1, and I'm going to use my add-a-quarter ruler, which has a nice little lip on it, and I'm going to trim this fabric to 1/4 inch, just like that, and get rid of that. Okay, so we have our first blade fabric, and the wrong side is to the unprinted side of this paper template. The right side is up. Now I need to add my first background, my section 2 fabric. The section 2 fabric gets placed right sides together like this. Now, to make sure that you have this placed correctly, you'll be able to see this when you're doing it. I'm just gonna draw here. That's where that section 2 piece comes in. And you can see my background fabric totally covers that. For now, I'm going to put just a little pin right here to hold this. And I'm going to go to the sewing machine and I'm going to sew on this line 1. So we've sewn on line 1, and you can see I've sewn just a little bit beyond the lines, and I've sewed all the way off the edge. That was the hardest part of paper piecing that we just did. Now what we need to do from this point on, it becomes very, very repetitive. We need to flip this over. At this point, you would take this either to the ironing board and press this, or what I like to do is use my glue again, and I run just a little bead of glue right along the stitching lines, not on the paper, but right across the stitching lines, and press this over. And that gives me a nice firm crease. So there is our section 1 and our section 2 sewn together. Now notice the fabric does extend beyond our template. That's okay, we're gonna trim this all up when it's done and it's gonna look gorgeous. So what we need to do now is we need to sew for line 2. So again, I take my fold template, and you can see clearly here where I've stitched beyond that. I just pull this back, just kind of pop it, and I fold on line 2. And I'm going to trim this using my add a quarter ruler. There we go. And now I'm going to add my second blade fabric. My second blade fabric goes right side up against this. So you can see when I look at the back that this is right sides together, just like you normally do. Take that, turn your paper over, and we're going to stitch on line 2. So here we are. We've stitched line 2 from here to here. So now is where it becomes very, very repetitive. We're going to turn this over. We're going to add a little bit of our glue right along that line. If you don't like glue, press this. Get that all nice and pressed. Turn it back over. We're ready for line 3. Going to use our fold template. We're going to fold on line 3. We're going to take our add a quarter ruler and we're going to trim this down. So now we need to add section 4, right sides together, right here. And again, with these odd angles, this is again the line, which you'll be able to see when you're sewing it, and our background fabric totally covers this section. We're going to go to the sewing machine and sew that. Okay, we've sewn line 3, so we're going to turn it over. We're going to apply a little bit of glue or press this to flip this fabric. The fabric is flipped. We're going to go again. We're ready for line 4. Going to fold on line 4. Trim to 1/4 inch. And place our next fabric. Again, you're going to have your fabric right side up. So these are right sides together, and we're going to go sew that. So here we've sewn line 4. So again, repetitive. We're going to flip this fabric, either press it or use your glue stick to make sure that that's a nice crisp seam. Back again. We're ready for line 5. Going to fold line 5. We're going to trim this again to 1/4 inch. And we're going to add our section 6 piece. Again, right sides together. Make sure that that piece covers the entire section. You can see where it's at, right there, and that is covered, and we're going to sew it. There is, we've sewn on line 5, and again, we're going to flip it. And there we go. We're just going to continue that process until this is completely covered with fabric. Okay, every now and again you'll make a mistake when you're foundation paper piecing. I make them more than I like to think, but you see right here I've got a little pleat in my fabric, so I really need to rip that out. To rip it out when you're doing foundation paper piecing is to take, the easiest way so you don't shred your newsprint, is to take a piece of Scotch tape and cover the seam line that you're ripping out. So cover that to protect your paper. Come back and just, you can use a seam ripper and just rip this now like you would normally rip. All the way. Another little tool that we have found, and who would have thought, these are eyebrow shapers, and they're found at drugstores, you know, Walmart, places like that. It has a little serrated blade on it, and these work really well for ripping seams. You just use that little serrated blade and pop your stitches. There. So I've ripped that out. I'll place my fabric again and hopefully do a better job of sewing. Okay, so our block has been completely pieced. Now it looks really ratty with all this fabric hanging out and everything. Your last step is to go ahead and to trim this block on this outer dark line. This inner line is your seam line. This outer line is the line you want to trim this block on. So simply get your ruler and your rotary cutter and trim it up. And there we go. That is our completed Spinwheels block. Now you make as many blocks as these as you want for whatever it is you're going to make. Play with your layouts to see what you like, how you would like to lay this out. You know, you can do a full circle. You could go ahead and try to do a serpentine one. You can do whatever you want with these blocks and make as many or as few as you like. They make great crib quilts, wonderful table runners, bed runners, placemats, but that's the block. The last step on this block is you do have to remove the foundation papers from the back of this. This is a good project sitting in front of the TV with a waste can. But I always tell people the easiest way to remove foundation papers from your blocks is to find somebody else to do that for you. I hope you can. Thank you. Hi, thanks for watching our Spinwheels tutorial. We hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you're inspired to make a Spinwheels quilt yourself. If you like this video, leave us a like. If you have any questions, leave us a comment and we'll answer them for you. Subscribe to our channel if you'd like. We also have the Spinwheels pattern available for those of you that have an embroidery machine. And that will be the next video we post, is how to make Spinwheels on your embroidery machine. So have a good day, eat your chocolate, and make some Spinwheels. Thank you.